हे हाय एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू एच डी ऑनलाइन चैनल। मैं से प्रवीण आप सभी का एक स्वागत करता हूँ एक बार फिर से। आई होप यू हैव लर्न सो मेनी थिंग्स, डीएससीपी, डीएनएस, व्हाट वी हैव, different topology as well. Now we'll be going to be here discussing about the switching part. If once switching discussed, we'll be going to routing, then we'll be focusing on the network security part. What are the router switches we have, we'll be going to discussing there. So in switching session we'll be going to we'll be going to discuss here. What is the STP, MASTP, RSTP, ether channel, what are the port channel, VLAN, inter VLAN configuration, and VTP, virtual trunking protocol. So let's start about what is the STP. If you know about what is the spanning tree protocol, why we need spanning tree protocol, right? The first we need to be think about, if it comes under the switching part, we need to be understand what are the forwarding, what are the blocking port, and I don't want to be lose any traffic, I don't want to be any delay to reach the traffic to the destination. So that is the things will be coming into the spanning tree protocol and how it's work. The first, it is avoiding in loop. If you have the multiple links, multiple uplink within the switches, and if you want to be reach out to different switches, so that is avoid to loops in the spanning tree protocol. What it means, let me open the switch. If I have two switch and I do have two uplink, that is uplink here. So I want to be port, what are the fast written as 0/1 in a similar way, fast written as 0/1, fast written as 0/2 or 22, whatever the uplink, fast written 0/22 or whatever the two. Now in this session, what will happen if I am using the two links at the same time? That means my what are the packets I just want to be reach destination, that will take the delays, and I don't want. That's what, if you have the multiple links in your switch, so that things we just want to be avoid. So if you are using the STP, one will be going to forwarding test and another it's blocking state. So that is the use of the STP. If you are using the STP protocol, if you have the multiple links, the one state will be going to forward in, second going to block, and that's what you will get the better performance, better things in your networks. So first sentence, what is, it's avoid the loops, sorry, it's avoid the loops in multiple links. If it's avoid the loops, that means your broadcast will not happen, you will get the multiple frame copy as well, and data instability, what are the things you want to be destination, the packet things, what are the things in that you will get the good performance. And it is the IEEE standard 80T1D. And if you are using the Cisco Catalyst series, it is comes by default. And I have mentioned some series. The C2900, it's already stopped. The C25360, but I have mentioned for the references what are the Cisco Catalyst series. It is comes, so that is comes by default the STP protocol, and that's mean if one state will be going to be forward and how another will be going to blocking if you have the multiple links. So that's what it is comes under the spanning tree protocol. As I mentioned that if you have the two links in switches, one is going to forward, one is going to be in blocking state, but how it's work, that is the things we need to be think about the spanning tree protocol. So let's how it's work. Now again, I just want to be open one scenario. Let me take the new files, I don't want to be save this one. So that is the spanning tree protocol, one will go into forward, one will be going to be block. Now if I do have three switches, now one, that is the uplink I have. Now what will happen, will give switch 1, switch 2, and what are the switch 3. Now, what is our point is here? How the election is happening for the selecting route bridge, route port, and designated port. That means our if that is the route bridge, it's totally depend upon the election things. How the selecting for the route port. Once we selected the route bridge, that is comes under the shorter path. And if you talk about the designated, that means our forwarded, and non-digital means what are the port will be going to block. So these things will be comes under the STP. That is means it totally depend upon the election things how they will be going to be select the route bridge, route port, and designated port is nothing but the forward port, and which port will be going to be non-designated port. That means no, it is block state or it is backend state. So that is the things comes under the STP. And how the first point, how we'll be selecting the route bridge. Now with having the list, that is the list bridge ID, that is comes under the best bridge ID. Means let me open the now let's take example the sentence which is mentioned the list bridge ID. Let's take example switch one have 3761 bridge ID. You can change the bridge ID as well. I will show you into the lab how we'll be changing the this bridge ID 98192, and that means 4096. Now what is happening here? The which is the list here 494096, right? That means switch 3 working as a root bridge. Now how the things will happen, how they know each other. This is the switch 1 bridge ID, what are the switch 2 bridge ID, what are the switch 3 bridge ID. That's what they are using the BPDU message for every 2 seconds for like bridge protocol data units message, and that contains what are the bridge value, what are the port they are using, and they are sending to the each other with the MAC address. That is comes under the BPDU message, and this will happen every 2 seconds. So that is the things will be happening. Now the list bridge ID will act as a root port. That means 4096 is going to be act as a root bridge. But what will happen? Another scenario, everyone have the same. Let me take one another example as well. Let's take example the same scenario, switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, and the similar way will be going to connectivity. Similar way, switch 1, switch 2, and switch 3. The first scenario we already discussed, who is having the list bridge ID, they will be going to be act as a root bridge. And the second scenario, what we just want to be, what will happen if they are all having the same bridge ID. And as I mentioned, you can change, you can select the which bridge ID you want to be. This is the switch 3 and 768. Okay. Now what will happen if they already having the same bridge ID all? This is by default bridge ID for any switch that is comes if you are using the STP protocol, that is comes under the this bridge ID, what is 32768. Now what will happen? All bridge ID is same right now, but how the election will happen if you want to be select the root bridge, right? Now the second condition, what will happen here? What? Bridge ID is priority plus MAC address. Now what is happening? The bridge ID is same. The second scenario they will be going to be selecting MAC address. Means let's take example. I have one C. If you know about the MAC address, I already posted the video about the how the MAC address calculated or something. Now what is happening? The bridge value of this 326,768, 1A, 1B and 1C. The list, what is the MAC address? One is similar for the all, but which switch comes first? 1A. That means this switch act as a root bridge. This, that means if you have the list bridge ID for this switch, this will act as the root bridge. And what will happen if bridge ID is similar for this one? Then they will be selecting, they will be calculating about the switch, MAC address of the switch. And what is the things they will be going to, what are the list they have, they will be going to calculate. So that is the happening of the election of the root bridge for the STP. So that is the things will be going to be things will be happening into STP for the selecting root bridge. Now we have three steps how the STP work. First, root bridge, second, root port, and last one is designated port and non-designated port. Now we learn about the selecting of the root bridge. What is the if you have the list bridge, that is act as a root bridge. If bridge ID is similar, you can, the election will be happening. What are the list of the MAC address? What are the things they have? And second things here, the BPDU message, the every like bridge protocol data units, and it is happening, and it is sending each and every 2 seconds for the different switch which is connected to the uplink or what are the links you have. And the BPDU message contain what are the things port, what are the your physical port, what are the your bridge ID, what is your MAC, and that is stored into the ARP table. So that is things happening into the BPDU message. And if the bridge value is same, then it is decided by the MAC address, which is the list MAC address that is going to be defined. Now the first root bridge is completed. Now the selecting of the root port. The first here will be discussing about the which is the shortest path to for the root bridge, that is comes under the root port. What it means? Before that, that means, let me take the new files. Again, we'll choose switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. Now we selected root bridge. Now we'll focusing on the what are the root port. Everything is happening like you once you selected root port. Let's take example. The switch 1 is I act as a root bridge for me. Okay. Now the second election will be happening for the root port. Let's think about what are the things. First, it is what is the condition first? Least cost, that means speed. Now I have mentioned the sum STP ports cost. What is the 10 Mbps? It is 100. 100 Mbps is 19. 1 Gbps is 4 and 10 Gbps is 2. Now what will happen? Now let's take example. I will consider all are 100 Mbps. Okay, all are 100 Mbps. So what it means, for 100 how much is cost? 19. What is the port cost? I'll be using 90, 90 for this, 90 for this, and 90 for this. Okay. Now the first sentence, which is shortest fast to the root bridge. Now here the root bridge, right? Now which is the shortest path? Here 19. That means which is the forwarding port to the root bridge, that is acts as a root port. Root port. But why? What is happening? The cost is 19. If I just want to be go here to here, that means 90 plus 90, it is 38. So which one least cost, least speed, that is work as a root port. And for this scenario, this will act as a root port, cause this is will be going to be 19, and if it's coming under the this, that is 90 plus 90, 38. That means will be act as a root port, means which is the shortest path for the, which is the shortest for the root bridge. Okay. So that is the things is happening. Now we'll take about the second scenario. What is the priority plus MAC? Okay. Now we'll take one more scenario here. The second condition, how it's going to be work. I'll be taking this scenario. Let's connect and similar way. Switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, switch 4. Now what is happening? Let's take example, all having the 100 Mbps, 19, 19, 19, and 19. Now for this they are reaching how much? 90 plus 90, 38. For this also they are going to be reach to the 90 plus 90 to the 38. Now if it is comes, what is the least speed? They are similar, then it will define, it will decided by the which one it is having the least bridge value. That means if this one having 4196 and this one having the 8192, let's take example, this one having the 4096 and this one having the 8192. So in this scenario, which is going to be forward to the root bridge, that is acts as the root port. That means here, that means this port acts as a root port for this root bridge. Then the next scenario, what will happen if the bridge value is similar? By default, which is we are using 32768. The same scenario will be going to happen about the MAC address. Let's take example, the having the 2C, here they are having the 2B, and they are having the what are the 2D, and they will be thinking about list. If bridge value is similar, they will be thinking about the MAC, which is the MAC, which is forward port, that will act as a root bridge. So the priority, the two scenario is completed. Which one? Least cost and priority. And the last one is the lowest forwarding of the physical port. And now I will take one more scenario here. Let me zoom out. I just want to be okay. Now, this scenario, let's take lowest forwarding. This is our root bridge. Root bridge, and again the value 100 Mbps. That spot speed is 19. Again 19. Again 19. Now everything is same. Let's take example priority of switch and MAC, or what are the things is going to be similar for this one. Let's take example. Sorry, it is again 38. Again 38. Now let's take example the second scenario. We already discussed about what are the bridge value, what are the MAC address value. It's similar. Then how the third its ports depend upon. Let's take example. This is port number 22 and this is port number 23. So that means here the selection of the root port is depend upon the which is the least physical number. That means I do have which one? 22 is the list in this scenario, which root bridge and which is act as a root port. That things will be happening here. Got it? So there are three scenario that is happening for the selecting of the root port. That is the least cost and which is the shortest cost to the root bridge. That is going to be work as a root port. Second is the priority and MAC. If priority value is similar, this second election will be happening for the what are the least MAC ads. They will be decided. And lowest forwarding in if it's all similar, which is the port is the having the least port number, they will act as a root port. And this is the link speed that is I have mentioned for the 10 Mbps 100, 100 Mbps 90, 1 Gbps 4, and 10 Gbps it's 2. Now will be we have already which one we the which we discuss root bridge we already discussed, who are having the list bridge value they will be act as a they are having the list MAC address, they will be act as a root bridge, root port, which is the shortest for the root bridge and for the forwarding. Now, third one is the designated port and non-designated port. Now, once you selected the root port, they will be act as a forward port, and which is going to be second one will be going to block instead. So that is comes under non-designated port. And let's take example of the BPDU message. Now, which is I already mentioned every 2 seconds they will be act as a which they will be sending to the BPDU message, and they will be containing what are the port number, what are the MAC address, what are the bridge value for this one, and they will be after that once selection is they will be they will be deciding which port will be going to be forward state and which is going to be blocking state. And max edge it is 20 second. Now let's take example if any switch is not going to be respond for the 20 second, that is comes under the dead, and this will be considered the switch down or something. They will be going to be, and they will be going to be sent for this different switch. They will be starting, you can start the traffic for the blocking. Now, as mentioned, what are the reasoning and learning for it is happening for the 50 seconds. So the listening is 50 second and learning is the 30 second, and overall is happening with is 30 second. And if 30 second is not going to be reply from the switch, the STP is going to be declare that this switch is down, or that process is happening for this BPDU message. And this is overall timer for this working for the STP. Let's take example. There are five state which is for the STP. One is blocking, one is listening, learning, and forwarding and disable. Now let's take example. What will happen for this one? 1550, and that is comes under the 50. So how the STP is working? If is not, you are not getting reply from the switch, or whatever the link you have for the 50 or 30 second, the switch will be going to be down, or this alert will be going to be triggered. And that is the for this STP port. If you are going to block in listening and learning, forwarding and disable, and the forwarding and disable is totally depend upon the what is root port you have. So this is all happening into the STP, and how the election happen into the STP. So it's work. And next session we'll be going to discussing about the practical things. Will be how we'll be changing the bridge value, how we'll be deciding the bridge value. In this we'll be going to discussing about the tip. I hope you learn so many things or something in this session. If you have got some information, please like and subscribe for this channel. Yeah, thank you so much.